Hey Alice, welcome back. You're here at a good time. I'm just sitting here with my buddy Layton. You know Layton, this is his fourth appearance on the podcast if you count book club.
That's right, four, which I would like to do again too at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, last time we talked, we were talking about maybe you picking one
Hmm.
at some point. So
Yeah,
we'll get around to that
yeah,
soon.
be
This
awesome.
month we're reading The Haunting at Hill House, which I'm kind of lukewarm about, to be honest.
Oh, that's the Netflix show came out about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I watched one episode and it kind of got like, man.
Yeah, I liked the show. The book is nothing to my expectation of like what the show is. So I'm
Gotcha.
a little lukewarm about it, but it's like a horror. So I'm not at the point where anything's really happening, which is like if you think about any horror book or movie, it's like, well, yeah, of course it's not good until shit starts happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're all kind of just like exposition until
Hmm.
they get there. But anyway, Layton Switzer of Debra, 1748 is a
84.
80
Yeah,
1784 dyslexia,
yeah,
sorry.
it's all good.
1784 is a project you've been working on.
Yep, for some time now. I mean, I mean, really, it's been probably, I think, year and a half, almost maybe 2 years since we like have at least started it. It didn't really get finalized and mixed and mastered till, I mean, probably like 6 or 7 months ago, maybe even more than that. I mean, it's been in works for a while. Yeah,
and you've been releasing
yeah,
increments of
waterfall,
this.
yeah, waterfall style. So, um, first of all, did we tell you why it's 1784? Why that's significant?
You did? I'm sorry, I don't remember
Oh,
why.
it's all good. So, and this is debatable, and there's reasons why we could go into. I'm not gonna bore you with it, but large people consider 1784 the year that Nashville was founded.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, Nashville
Maybe
proper.
you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there was like I think it was like 1777 or 78. People say that no, there was Nashboro, there was upriver. That's really when it was founded, but where Nashville was like originally like where the downtown main parts of the city are now, that's they moved it downstream, down the Cumberland, and named it Nashville as opposed to Nashboro. And so that's why we chose 1784 instead of the first one, was that the name was finalized in 1784, and where the location was also changed at that time to 1784, where it is now.
Gotcha.
So that's why we're like, that makes more sense. So we stuck with 1784 as the year that Nashville was founded, and it's our moving away, not moving away, but like experimentation with like the kind of the cosmic country sound,
Hmm.
and being in Nashville, and being inspired by the legends such as Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard and Willie, all those guys. It just made sense to. This is our kind of ode to Nashville.
Yeah,
Our kind
like
of
Roots Nashville, like
exactly, yeah,
OG
yeah,
Nashville.
exactly our roots. Yeah, and Robbie, our one of our guitar players and singer and songwriters, is extremely heavily influenced by that kind of outlaw country sound and style. So it was just kind of like it just felt right to do it then, and here we are.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
yeah.
awesome, man. The stuff that's already out, I love. It's got a specific sound which is unique to this album.
Mm-hmm.
Other stuff y'all do is different from this album, I would say. And like I love I love a good like a record,
Yeah,
where it's like this is a piece in and of itself.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so there's eight songs.
yeah. So sorry, you asked about that, and I got on a
You're good, man.
digression about the origin of the
Yeah.
name and year. So we released it, a waterfall release, starting with one, and then seven, and then eight, and then four. The last one is coming out on the 28th of January, which is the last Tuesday of January. Each of the releases, so one had two songs on it, seven had two songs on it, eight had two songs on it, and then four, the last one, will also have two songs on it. Yep.
Right on. We just I got to get a sneak peek
Mm-hmm.
at four, the last two tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited for y'all to hear it. It's really awesome.
Thanks.
Y'all actually do a Waylon Jennings cover on
Yep,
there
we
as
do.
well.
Should can I say it or no?
Yeah,
Better.
if you want to.
Yeah, so it's Waymore's Blues. It's a song by the legendary Waylon Jennings, and again, all of us are influenced by him heavily. So we were like, we're doing a country album. We got to do a song. What song? And we just landed on Waylon. We landed on Landless Blues. So yeah,
It's I've never heard anything like that because there is the outlaw country genre, but you said cosmic country earlier, and I think that's very fitting because it is like you're tripping peyote in the late 1700s in the desert somewhere, and
yeah,
that's the songs that play when you're looking up at the night sky,
yeah,
and you see all the stars before there's street lights. That's
yeah,
the image you're painting for me.
yeah. I mean, that's the psychedelic aspect and kind of elements of our music we couldn't totally shed for this. Like they definitely bled into this project for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I think Cosmic Country is a fitting genre title for the album. And I mean, there's tons of cosmic examples of Cosmic Country out there that you can see where it kind of sounds like it, but it's not exactly a facsimile of those things. Like Honey Harper I love Honey Harper. I think it's great. Um, he's a Cosmic Country artist that like is I would not say our album sounds like him at all, but you can kind of see some similarities, like a little bit here and there. Um, we're a little bit, I would say, we're more like we drift more towards the outlaw sound on it than that. But like you said, it's definitely not just a straight up country album by any means.
No.
It's not at all that.
Yeah. It's cool to see art projects, man. Like, I don't know. Y'all are so pure with intention. Like you make art and it's really cool to see that.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try. We certainly
That
try.
song, not the Waylon Jennings one, but the other one you just showed
Yeah,
me,
Bantam Love. Yeah.
is very like it's like melancholy. It made me
Oh
feel
yeah.
things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a song about my at the time my fiance, who now she's my wife, and I wrote it from my perspective when we were kind of early on in our relationship, when it was, obviously now we're very happy, we're married, and like I love her to death. I could not live without her, but earlier on it was a little bit harder. We fought more and stuff, and so the even then though I think that I knew that it would turn into something like really great, and it has, but it was worth sowing the seed, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's what the lyrics kind of allude to, is the fact that like, yeah, it's hard now, but it's gonna be like, she makes me feel so good, in aggregate, and even these special little moments. And I think that it will be like, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and it has been.
Yeah, man.
So
Some of the like best relationships you make in life are, I would say all the best relationships you make in life are ones that have withstood trial, like withstood, like overcome things, you know?
mhm.
Like I think about like some of my closest friends are like people that we had some like really rocky times, you know? And it's like coming out of that is when it's like really a good relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, that's kind of what that song is about a little bit.
Yeah. It's like you never really know someone till, I mean, you don't want to like test people on purpose, but like it takes like going through things with people to like really know where you're at with them and like get to know people. I guess that's true with yourself too.
Oh yeah,
Like as an individual, you don't know who you are till you've undergone things.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
agree with
character
that.
building.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you said. Yeah, you like going through trials and tribulations are a good part of deciding who other people are, but also yourself too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You don't really know who you are or who other people are if they haven't been through shit.
until the ship starts sinking,
Yeah.
then you find out who people are.
Till it hits the proverbial fan.
Yeah, can I steal another one?
Yeah, absolutely. But y'all are also playing a show. Four comes out on the 28th.
28th, which is the last Tuesday of January, and
Okay.
then we play a show at the OG Basement on the 30th, which is the following Thursday. Same
Oh
week.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a great time. Rob Seibin's in town. Been going all across the country doing wild shit.
Yeah.
So It'll be cool to see you guys together. It's gonna be sick. I
Yeah,
can't wait, man.
yeah. I will say it's probably important. Just throwing this out there. We're not really. It's not a EP release or an album release show. We're not really going to play the album from start to finish. We're going to play a couple songs off of it, but it's going to be kind of more heavy, like we've been in the past.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's going to be rock.
Fuck
It's
yeah.
going to be rock. It's going to be psychedelic rock and roll for sure.
That is January 30th at the basement.
The OG basement, yeah.
If you haven't seen Debra before, this is going to be a great opportunity to do that. And you're really missing out if you haven't. They're fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I'm like it's cool knowing you, but I'm also a fan, you know. Like it's cool seeing people make real art, you know. There's a lot of like, I don't know. I'm like saying this in a positive way and not a negative way. But like now say it in a negative way. There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of just like
Music.
superficial bullshit.
You,
Yeah.
you mean just art in general or
Yes.
music?
Yeah, like music. Well, I guess art in general.
Okay.
Every medium probably has that. But I was thinking music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of just like generic garbage. Actually, more specifically, what I'm saying, like, there's a band that was like a band I interviewed that's like they're very
Uh-oh.
they're
Drama, dude.
they're very like contemporary rock and roll, like old school, like they like the classics, you know.
Mhm.
However, like the people that they're emulating were like really pushing boundaries. Those were like rock and roll was dangerous when like in every
like Iggy Pop.
yeah, like in every aspect of danger,
Yeah.
like living dangerous lives, just dangerous people in every sense of the word, like artists, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like imitating a sound, but like there's nothing there because it's like you're trying to be something instead of just
It's vapid.
yeah. It's like if you were really wanted to like live up to your influences in that case, you wouldn't try to sound like them. You would just be super rock and roll, like
Yeah.
push the envelope of your time,
Yeah.
you know? And I think like y'all obviously have influences going back all the way to 1784, but like you're not doing what they did. You're doing
Oh,
something
certainly not.
on
Yeah.
your own.
That's kind of what I meant by the whole digression of saying like, I love Honey Harper. We don't really sound like that, but I do think that this album 1784 qualifies as like cosmic country because even though it's like our nostalgic kind of like ode to Nashville, like I'll say that again, it's not really like a Waylon Jennings record or like a Merle Haggard record. It's like there's definitely psychedelic elements in it. We just can't, even though we like tried to put that part of our musical character aside for this album, you can't. I mean, we found out who we are, so to speak. So we can't totally get rid of that, And in this album, I think that really is present, Even though, like we were talking about earlier, Alice didn't hear us because the camera wasn't on yet, but we did this album with mostly just organic instruments. I say analog, but there's a lot of analog like synthesizers and stuff. What I meant is like no synthesizers, no like artificial like sounds. It's mostly just organic sounds. So once they recorded with our engineer, the brilliant Mike Fahey, once he captured all the sounds, he put a little bit of like reverb and stuff, compression on it, but that's it. Like it's mostly just like our hands, percussion, voices, guitars, so a couple electric guitars through, tube amps, but pretty basic like instrumentation on this album. We use kind of our imagination to add psychedelic elements to it.
Yeah, and y'all got really inventive with how you did it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So this is the last release of 1784, right?
Four, yeah.
Okay.
4, exactly.
Cool. So, and then we won't get too far ahead of ourselves, but then you got other stuff in the future that's way different.
Oh yeah. I showed you a little bit of it last time.
Different.
Yeah. So I won't. We
Yeah,
don't
you don't have to
know.
get into
No,
that.
no. It's fine. I'll share with you, and once we turn the camera, I'll let me share more. But I won't say the title of it yet because we're not totally set in stone. We think we know the title, but I will say that the theme of the album is unintended consequences. So yeah. So
Fuck yeah.
yeah. So just like you're doing something and you don't know what effect it's going to have later on, and you just have to deal with it, or not. And the album is just very dark, very heavy, way heavier than anything we've ever done before. Those terms are so like ambiguous, heavy, dark, but it's like, I mean, you heard it. It's like,
Yeah. Oh no, those are accurate terms.
yeah, we tried to
Yeah.
get, I mean, I channeled some like,
Demons.
ethereal alchemy on this one. Like I really went deep,
Ooh,
deep,
ethereal alchemy. I
yeah,
like that.
went deep into the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Rob isn't on it. Rob was out doing, and we started recording this thing. We started recording this crazy. It's crazy because I talk about how long ago we started 1784, but this new project we started almost a year ago. So it's like we're getting some weird overlap, and we're not going to release this one for a while because we don't want it to,
Sure.
step on the toes of 1784 or anything. But Rob is out doing his thing, so it was just Hayden and I writing songs, and even Hayden got pretty like he typically his. I don't want to speak for him; he's not here, and don't get mad at me. I'm not trying to put you in a box or anything, but he
Alice
kind
won't
of
tell anybody.
yeah, he kind of goes for like he goes for somber, like kind of more sad, thoughtful lyrics, right? He's not going for like the bizarre and obscure like I kind of tend to write. But on this one, he really did. I feel like we really both were kind of like, let's meet in the middle on some like fucking weird shit and like let's talk about it. And that's what this album is turning into for sure. And there's like a whole the thing about this thing. I don't. It's funny. It's our first album. The thing about this particular project, not our first album, this new one about unintended consequences, is that we have a shitload of songs. It's like 10 songs, and it's so much that we're splitting it up into a couple different things. The collection of songs I showed you is on the one that's the unintended consequences one. There's going to be probably another release after it that's
Okay.
the other songs
Gotcha.
that are much lighter and much happier in tone. So yeah, again, a huge digression, but that's all of that is down the road. That's
Yeah.
you know,
Um I guess the reason I brought it up is it's just like y'all do different shit. It's like this has a theme and then this like has a theme to it. And it's like I don't
the concept,
concept. Yeah.
concept.
I was like concept record, like what does that mean? But yes, it's a concept. That yeah. It's there's an idea there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's funny. We're playing some of the stuff at on the 30th.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, anything you showed me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you gotta be there, Alice. It's gonna be fucking crazy.
Which is so funny because we are playing at least one song off of 1784. So to have that mixed
contrasted with oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna I told you it's gonna be a fucking wild
that's
show.
fucking nuts.
And then I mean, I'll share this with you, Alice. And I've talked about this on social media, so it's not like hiding anything, but we're playing Up All Night, which is another one of our heavy ones that it's not even ours. It's that Rob Steven wrote it on his personal record years ago, and we just have co-opted it, and he's okay with it. We just play it all the time when he's in town. And then we're of course playing Stump Juice, which is our most popular track.
Yeah.
That's the banger,
What's fuck. There's the line from that one, I know it. It's something about Rob's stash of cocaine.
Yeah, there's no cocaine left in my stash. That's it.
That's such a fucking banger.
You got it.
It's such a fucking banger.
Yeah. The beauty of that one is just like he is not being subtle. He's being straightforward, which is exactly who he is.
Yeah. That's honest to who he is.
I'm not. I'm not gonna coat this in metaphor. I'm out of fucking cocaine.
I love that. Like I write poetry, but I hate poetry. You know what I mean? Like what you think of when you think of poetry. Yeah. It's like I don't like it because like what does this mean? And it's like it reminds me. It's just like a very hipster thing. Yeah. It's like oh you just don't get it. It's like no you don't get it either. Yeah. Stop lying to me.
It's like the whole idea of gaslighting someone into like being nebulous or whatever,
Yeah, it's
like
like, oh, it's just too deep for you.
exactly. Yeah.
Like, no, it's
Like,
not.
does anybody in this room have any fathom of what the fuck the conversation's about?
Yeah. Like,
You
what the
know?
fuck are we talking about?
Yeah.
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 No, that's how a lot of like contemporary poetry is, and I
Yeah.
can't stand that.
Yeah.
I tend to go for like the raw approach of like just say something. Like I in my poetry is more hip hop influenced than poetry influenced, and I think that's like
Lots of play on words, internal rhymes, that kind of
yes,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I do like it's like very much a rap thing to say like I'm this or I'm that, like to compare yourself to something,
Mm-hmm.
and which is like that's just that's just magic. Like you're just like just a little inside baseball for you. Like intentional, I don't, it really wasn't all that intentional, but just as an example, like rhetoric rabbit hole. Now, if you see anything Alice in Wonderland related, it's going to click, like it's going to
Yeah.
correlate to what I'm doing. It's like association,
Mm-hmm.
like creating those associations. Rappers do that a lot.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like Superman.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like
now you see Superman, you think of that rap
Pavlov's
song.
bell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just associating things. I do a lot of that with my poetry, where it's like um just comparing things. It's very like to get like esoteric and weird about it. That's like one of the things humans do really well that like nothing else does. Like in the Garden of Eden, uh God gives the task to Adam to name all the animals. And it's like, what is naming? Like he's just going around pointing at things, going, that's an elephant. That's a kangaroo. And it's like that's specifically a human thing to name things. Or like
Mm.
association. Like this color represents like red means stop, green means go. Like, no, it doesn't. We just decided it does.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really cool thing that people do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the green means go thing is like it's a construct to help like a system
Hmm.
of travel, system of
Yeah.
communication and travel. That's like what it is. Yeah. And
But
like
like green inherently doesn't
no,
mean
no, yeah, right. Of
go.
course not. No.
Yeah. We just
Yeah.
decide that it does.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
I think I cut you off.
no,
What were you
no, no, no.
saying?
You're 100% right. That was what I was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's like there is no rhyme or reason to it. We just kind of do that. Like I bet naming a song's kind of like that too. It's like do you have a song like a name for a song before the song, or do you have a song then you name it?
It totally depends. Sometimes I'm like that's a really cool song name, and I'll like write it down without any idea of what it is or what the lyrics are or anything. And then I'll like have my guitar at totally separate time, not thinking about song title or anything, and just like playing like, oh, that's a good riff. What should I call this? And I'll look back through my notes because I make notes all the time on my phone about whether it's like, you know, lyrics, story ideas, whatever. I like make a shitload of notes on my phone. So like I'll like go back and scroll through my notes until I see something that looks right for what I'm
Yeah.
playing.
Okay. It just depends. Yeah.
And then sometimes though, but you're right on the other edge of that. That's only sometimes. Other times I'll like be playing and like be tooling around that's like blabbering like lyrics that I think might sound good and oh that sounds like shit. Okay. Oh that line sounds good here. Like blah, 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 play the line a little bit, sing it, and like, you know what, that line does sound really good. That also sounds good as like a song title.
Hmm.
And it matches because like when you think of the song title, you'll think of that line,
Yeah.
or vice versa. So sometimes it works that way too.
I got
You
you.
know?
It just depends.
Yeah.
And it can't be too like formulaic, right? Like
Our songs are not
yeah.
formulaic at all. I wouldn't say. I mean,
It's a different process per song. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're formulaic in the sense that you could break them down into a formula, but I don't think that we stick to formula. We stay away from formula in the sense of like this is what a song should be: A B, like pre-chorus, chorus, B section, and then the outro. Like we do not do that. We're just writing parts. If it feels right, it feels right. So a lot of our songs are just A B. or ABA, and that's it. You know,
Hmm.
we write like very. I would say the thing about our songs is that like song to song, it's not very similar like structure wise. You know,
Yeah.
and we write. I think some of our parts are kind of interesting in the sense of like complexity. Like People in the Stairs, for example, is one of mine, and I purposely was like, I want to write a riff that kind of has got this like weird looping, like kind of almost like a how many more times vibe from Zeppelin. Boom,
Hmm.
boom, 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 boom. Like, and that's cool because it's kind of jazzy in the sense that Jimmy Page is like alternating where the one is on that. Dun, dun,
Hmm.
dun, 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 dun,
Okay.
dun. He's alternating it back, but it's in 2/4. It's like I want to do something like that, but I want it to be in a non-time signature. So I was like, and
Hmm.
so it's in seven. I
Okay.
wrote it in seven, and so like learning how to play that and sing was a whole fucking thing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like I gotta play this in seven and sing it. That's weird. And then I didn't even think about this, but when my other friends, because none of us are like super like theory oriented. Like
Hmm.
we're all okay at it, but we're not like we can't chart it out or anything like that. Or Hayden probably could. You know, he's not like super quick at it. Anyway, one of my other friends who doesn't, he's not in the band. His name is AJ. He came and saw us play one time. And he was like, "That song is wild because it changes time signatures 3 times." And I
Hmm.
didn't even know that. I like wrote the part that was in seven to be in seven, and then all the other rest of it just kind of like flowed out. And I didn't think about it. And it was like it changed. It goes from seven to three to four, back to three into seven again. I was like, I didn't even know that. I wasn't even like trying to do that. It just kind of came out that way after I
Yeah.
intentionally wrote the part in seven.
Is that
Um,
AJ with the fro? The afro?
no, he doesn't have afro.
Okay.
He's got like long like oh he used to have long. I don't know how long
I'm
he
thinking
has
of a
right
different
now.
AJ.
He's got like straight dark
Okay.
hair. But yeah, and so our parts are complex sometimes, but like we don't ever like write. I don't think we ever write songs with like a shitload of parts in them. I think we kind of
Yeah.
stray away from that. It's like some have some like 4 parts, but I don't think we ever had songs like 7 part like you fucking
Yeah.
eulogy. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a I don't know,
Two or three
two or
things.
three
Yeah,
things.
but
Yeah,
there's changes though.
two or three ideas. Yeah, it's got
That's cool for someone else to tell you it's more complex than you realized. You're like, oh, it is?
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. That's definitely happened. That's happened. That's happened to me a couple times. Yeah.
What have you been listening to in like the last week, last month?
What have I been
Yeah.
just ooh, that's a good one. I'll show you. I've been getting back into Elder. You know Elder?
Okay. No.
It's like a psych rock band. It's kind of more like krautrocky, long form. Like
Okay.
Gold and Silver is the album I've been listening to right now. Purple Mountains. It's a forget the guy's name, but he's great lyricist. David Berman is the guy in
Hmm.
Purple Mountains. I can send this stuff to you so you can check
Yeah.
it out. But been really into him lately. He's got some awesome lyrics. One that's kind of interesting. It was like I was like looking at our Spotify page, and it was a thing that was like fans also like, bands like Debra. So I was like looking at it. It's a band called Susan the Band, which is funny because it's like another female name, band name. Is Debra Susan.
Like that's the correlation.
Yeah, yeah. But
I just really like female first name bands.
yeah, right. But they've got some songs that I actually think are really, really good, and they're not, no knock. No, it's not saying anything, and we're not, we don't have a super huge amount of monthly listeners either, Susan. So don't. I'm not trying to throw shade at you, but they don't have too many monthly listeners. But I think that they deserve way more because they've got some like pretty awesome songs.
Fuck
I'll
yeah.
send them to you too. And I'll send you the song that it's called Better Way. I think it's pretty awesome. So listening to them, getting back into the Black Keys, old school Black Keys a
Hmm.
little bit. Um,
Hell yeah. You kind of like the like gritty songwriter stuff.
yeah, I also like some fucking weird music too. Like I'll send you this guy. It's this like virtuoso guitar player, but he doesn't play like what you think. It's not like
Okay.
super clean. Like he like did that in his early life. Later on in life, he like decided to play like just kind of weird stuff, and it's just he did this album of um let me see, I'm trying to find it real quick. I think it's a Love Supreme by Coltrane. Um, yeah, this guy. Yeah, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Raphael Roginski, that guy.
Okay.
It's very strange, but like I've been really into him too
Cool.
lately. Yeah. So yeah.
When you said Purple Mountains, I've been on a mountain kick, like Leslie West.
Hell yeah, dude. Old School
Yeah.
Mountain? Fuck yeah.
Yes. Like that's been a big part of what I've been listening to lately. I'm just like, damn, I don't know if there's like ever been a cooler band than Mountain.
Mountain is awesome.
They're like so
Mountain
fucking cool.
Mountain is awesome. Yeah, Nantucket Sleigh Ride. That's an awesome
Yeah.
fucking song.
What got me on a mountain kick was I was watching footage um from Woodstock,
Mm-hmm.
watching different bands perform. And it's so funny watching like young Santana up there
Oh yeah.
shredding,
Yeah.
but also like kind of shitting bricks. Like look at as you would.
Is that the one where I know on one of the Woodstocks he like tripped a bunch of
Yes.
acid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the my understanding of based on an interview that Santana did, he was like they weren't supposed to go
Right.
first.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they had to, but they're tripping balls. I think it was peyote. And he's talking about how his guitar turned into a snake. But like, and it's like you're watching that, and with that context, it's kind of obvious. Like you're like, oh yeah, they're freaking out right now. And they fucking like Soul Sacrifice. They just went on this 6 minute just journey. But like it's like, yeah, no, they're looking out at this. I mean, as you would, you're looking out at this fucking sea of people, and they're like they're sweating. They're like, these are kids. And then you see Mountain get up there like way later in the night, and they're just they're playing like they're playing any show. Like they're just so cool and collected. And it's like so cool watching young Santana freaking out, losing their minds. And then Mountain, like, okay, well, we know exactly what we're about to go do. And just get up there and fucking shred. They're so cool.
Yeah. Mountain is the shit, dude.
They
They're
really are.
awesome. They're fucking awesome. Yeah, I need to check that out. I don't think I mean, I'm sure I've seen footage of Mountain at Woodstock, but I just that Santana set is like legendary.
It's
It's
legendary. Yeah.
legendary. Yeah, I've seen that a bunch, but
And they did really good, but they were like, as you can imagine, they're like freaking out a little bit.
oh yeah, fuck. I mean, I just personally like. I think Hayden could do that. Probably Kevin could do that. Rob does that on a daily basis. But I would actually die. I like would not be able to fucking handle that at all. Like zero.
Dude,
Like
even sober, just
yeah,
looking out at all those
yeah,
people, like that's so
yeah.
much pressure. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
I feel like my mind is like on it. Like I'm on the edge of a string or a knife, like kind of day to day. Like that kind of shit just throws me in a different. I'm not. I don't
What
deal
do
with
you
that shit
mean?
well. Like I have only really tripped hard once in my life. I did is my first time ever taking mushrooms, which again, this is I know people who are like into this culture were like, yo, probably like, why did you do that? That's of course gonna set you on like the wrong path. But I ate over an eighth of mushrooms for my first time doing it.
Okay.
Sent me to the fucking moon.
Yeah.
Didn't have a good time. Like the come up was fine. The fucking apex was a fucking nightmare, and then like the come down was like fine. You know, it felt good, and I was like enjoying it again. But like after like just being sure like panic, psychotic breakdown, almost like
That's what it is, a
for
psychotic
about
break. Yeah.
2 hours just at the apex of it. It was bad. It was really bad. And then I just like, yeah, I mean, like I went through a weird. It's almost like I almost never recovered from that mentally. You know, like
Mm.
I had weird anxiety stuff. This is also years ago. It's like when I was like 22 and 3. Um, and I just like that panicky kind of shit just kept coming back. And even when I had to quit smoking weed because I would get like fucking panic attacks and anxiety and losing sleep and shit. And yeah, so like playing like live in front of people again, I've never done it, so like maybe I would have a different experience, but I just like think that I would like have a panic attack and not be able to like play. And like it's weird. My anxiety about playing shows definitely still there, even when I'm sober. But like it's like leading up to it. You know,
Yeah, when you get up,
once I
yeah,
get there and even like if I'm at the bar, like I'm okay once I'm at the bar, even before we play. And especially when I put the guitar on and like or get behind the drum set, like I'm fine. Totally
yeah,
fine. And it's enjoyable. You know, obviously I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't enjoy
right.
it. But yeah, this the idea of playing while tripping fucking absolute ball sack is just like something I think that I should avoid. You
Man,
know?
I would say probably like the last like several times that I've tripped have been bad experiences. And I keep telling myself, like, I shouldn't do this anymore. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a good time with this. You're gonna regret this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do it, and I'm like, yeah, I already knew this was a bad idea before I did it.
That's what you said about possum stock, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if I told you my possum story
You
is.
did. You
Yeah,
did.
I had like a full-on psychotic break,
Yeah.
like you're describing,
Yeah.
like psychosis, crazy person. Um, and
I'm sorry you went through that. It sucks.
yeah, it was not good. It was horrible. It
Yeah.
was fucking horrible. Um, and like I get my fear response is like confrontational. So like I'm like a problem. Like
Oh
I'm
God.
like it's not good.
Hmm.
Like I need to be contained
Okay.
because if I feel like I'm in danger or I'm under like I get on like the defensive, like ready to defend myself, which I that was the case at this festival is I felt like I was under a threat. And that makes me like I'm not like the kind of like though I think what it is if I'm running away from something, I can't see it. Like it's behind me. But if I'm facing it, I'm a little bit more prepared to deal with whatever it is. And like I treat relationships the same way. Like if there's a problem in a relationship that I'm in, I want to address it immediately.
Mhm.
Because what I'm really afraid of is not addressing this and going about my day and thinking about it all day. Like I need to confront it,
That
like
makes total
get it
sense.
out of the way. That way I
Yeah.
don't however bad it is, let's go ahead and handle this.
Yeah. It's like the idea of like when you're like riding a bike or running, like out in public, you go on the side of the street that'd be like oncoming traffic. So you can make a decision that might save your life if you see the car or thing coming, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you're on the side of the street or on the lane where it's behind you, they might just careen off the road and
Yeah.
fucking take you out. You know, you won't ever know because you can't see it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. You want to
yeah,
you want it in front of you. Yeah. That way you can deal with it.
yeah. Or you have a better chance. You still might
Yeah.
die, but like you have a way better chance of even fucking seeing
You
it's
at least
coming.
want to see it
Yeah,
happen, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've like not had a good time. I need to like just not anymore. And I know that, but I keep doing it. It's certainly like it's not a recreational thing. People treat it like they're gonna do it and then like have fun. And I think yeah, I mean if that works for you, like that's cool. It just I can't. It's like not really ever a good. I guess also a part of that is usually when I do it, um, I'm like so many times when I've done it, I've like used a Ouija board or I've
Okay.
like practiced
Yeah.
channeling and like done ritual magic
Yeah.
because if you're
Lesser keeps Solomon.
not that
Hmm.
specifically not that
Hmm.
but similar things um that's some like heavy shit, man. I actually have a copy but
I do
I'm
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not something to play with. I mean,
Nope.
none of it is, man.
Nope.
None of it's
It's
anything.
not.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
But
I've read it. And I haven't wanted to really try and do any of that, you know.
yeah,
One, I don't know. The skeptic in me is like, I don't know that it's real, right? But the other part of me is like the inverse of Pascal's wager, right? Like,
yeah, the
I
anti.
don't need. I'm not. My curiosity is such that I want to like read it and then like put it away. I don't need to try and practice it.
Have you ever read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins?
I my roommate had it years ago, and like
Okay.
I like read parts of it. I haven't. This is back when he was going through the huge Dawkins. This is back in college for me. I feel like I'm very familiar with it, even though I haven't read it cover to cover.
The reason I ask is that's the only time I've heard of a reverse Pascal's wager. That's where I first came in contact with that idea.
Oh
Is
god,
was
I
a
didn't know
Dawkins
that.
thing.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, like you're saying though, it's like it's err on the side of caution. And I think I'm glad you brought up like skepticism because I think in society really we're just having a misunderstanding. Um I've had many bizarre experiences, but I'm not really making any claims about what is and isn't.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing for me, like about that, sorry, I cut you
No,
off a
you're
little bit
good.
too, but the
You're good.
thing for me about that kind of stuff is like, um, it, I forget who the philosopher is. I think it's either William James or Henry James. I think it's William James. He's considered the father of philosophy or the father of American philosophy. I think he's like the first prolific American philosopher. He's a Harvard guy. Um, his whole thing about religion is not whether or not it's substantive, but it's real for the person who wants to believe it's real, right? So therefore, it's real. For me, I
Yeah.
apply that kind of shit to this kind of thing. Like,
Hmm.
regardless, it almost doesn't matter to me whether it is, you know, ostensibly real. Like, it might be real, it might not be. But if I consider it, if I like my mind latches on to something and manifests that, like it's real to me.
Yeah.
So the more I like go down that road of like dark, I've gone down that road plenty, but like I mean like that specifically like Lesser Key of Solomon, false hierarchy of demons, that kind of shit. It's like I don't need that to like latch on in my head. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that to even if it's just
No, you
even if
don't.
it's just here, you know, I'm not again like you, I'm not making any claims about that being real out in reality,
Yeah.
but then it's the whole thing like what's the difference, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm, yes. And where I'm kind of getting, that's where I'm getting with it. That's where I'm getting to with that
Mm-hmm.
is uh effectively, there's no way to tell the difference.
Oh yeah.
What would it mean if this was all in your head or your imagination? There's no tangible difference and there's no like repeatability or like physical evidence. So except for this weird sleep paralysis story you told me, which haunts me on a semi daily
Yeah,
basis.
that's a tough one. That was
That's
weird.
that's one of the crazy. I've done like 200 over 200 of these. This will be 209.
Hmm.
That is to date one of if not the craziest story I've ever heard when it comes to like the supernatural.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorites because you are a very pragmatic, like logic driven guy.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
you're not like a you're not like a woo woo guy. Which I mean, I
Some people would probably say that I'm woo woo just because of the just volition of what we're talking about, but
well,
I would argue
not
that I'm
compared
not.
to me.
Yeah. Fair,
But yeah, you're like when you say that like that with me at least that has like a specific kind of like value to it.
yeah,
And I'm like because Layton's not crazy, and it's like that gives me pause. I have had many weird experiences, but nothing like that.
yeah,
So any spirits that I've had could be explained with psychology. Like it's not it's not breaking any laws of physics.
yeah. I've only ever had so I would say that that's like it is by far the wildest things ever happened to me for sure, but it's not the only wild story I have in that regard. I've got really one other one that's like it's crazy. It's not that. It's nothing is like that. I've never had anything like
Have
that.
you told me this other story?
I think I did, but I don't know. It's about when we were me and a couple of friends were. It was back in the high school days. We were like I think juniors or seniors. We were almost to college, so we were like okay with like going out, smoking, like and drinking. This is back when I still smoked weed. I cut it out probably right around this time. But like we went out, we were smoking weed. We just couldn't do it at our parents' house. But we didn't. We were really like stopping, trying to hide it from them at this point. We just didn't want to do it at their house, right?
Yeah.
So we went to this like parking lot, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if we were smoking weed. I think we were just smoking cigarettes, maybe drinking a couple beers. But we went to this parking lot that was like, imagine there's like the main road, right? And there are businesses on both sides of this road, and it's like the Spartanburg where we grew up is called the hub cities because there's lots of trains. So it's literally like a hub for trains. So there are train tracks kind of crisscrossing all over town. There was a train track. So here's the main road, businesses on both sides. And then there's like a train track, like maybe 100 yards, maybe less than 100 yards, maybe 50 yards from where the businesses are on this side of the road, right? So we're going down the main drag and it's not the main drag, but it's a drag. And we pull in behind this like building, and this is late, so there's no one around. And this is kind of there may have been cameras, but this is before cameras were super prevalent everywhere, so we weren't really worried about being caught on film or anything. I mean, even if we weren't really like damaging the property. We were just literally hanging out in the parking lot. So the train was like moving real slow. It's like stopping where there was a train. There's imagine road, building, parking lot behind, and then there's a tall fence. It's a chain link fence so you can see through it. But then field of grass, the train track, kind of parallel to the road, right?
Okay.
And so we're in the parking lot behind the building, off of the road.
On one end of the fence and then
on one end in the parking lot, and then chain link fence, unkempt grass, and then the train track that ran parallel to the road that we just pulled off.
Okay.
Right? The grass is about shoulder height for me, and I'm roughly about the same height. So I'm 6'2", so it's probably about over 5 feet tall, definitely over 5 feet tall, the grass. And train's moving like real slow, kind of eerily slow, but I see these two things like out in the field of grass, right? They're tall, they're skinny, they're definitely humanoid. I think they're humans, but they're like probably 2 or 3 feet. Their heads are 2 or 3 feet above where the grass is, right? The grass ends. Very, very tall. I can see their shoulders. I can kind of make them
So we're
out.
talking like wild grass, like
wild
tall grass.
Yeah,
okay.
Very tall grass. Like it's like it's also like from what I remember, it wasn't like green, it was like brown, kind of like almost like a wheat or something. It's like some kind of weed,
Yeah.
So I see these things and they're like coming towards us, right? And like I don't really know, like wave at them, they don't wave back. And now, like as they're getting closer, I can kind of see that they're way too skinny to be like their shoulders like this far apart. They're very skinny, and like they have no facial features. And so like they're getting closer. I'm getting really weirded out. And my buddy Mark, shout out to Mark Crowley, he's the fucking man. Like ardent skeptic, way more. So
he saw it too.
He didn't see it.
Okay, so all right. I got ahead of you. My bad.
He wasn't even like looking. He was like Layton, you're getting freaked out. So imagine we're kind of sitting by the car. He's facing me. I'm looking out towards the grass and the trains, right? So I'm looking at him. Mark's not even like looking at him. He's like, hey, there's someone out there. Like he's not really paying attention. His back's to them, right? And the grass. The thing that I remember most, I can still see this image in my head, is that the grass is like blowing in the breeze, and they're not blowing. So I know they're not like some deformed like grass, right? They're like moving, kind of like swaying as if they're walking towards us, but they're not moving with the wind and the rest of the weed or grass or whatever it is. And they're like coming closer and closer, like very slowly. And like I said, I get to a point where I can like actually see that I can't make out facial features, and their shoulders are like I said, like this far, very skinny for someone who's like 7 feet tall. So like this is fucking weird. I want to get the fuck out of here. our other friend Blair is just not saying a word, just smoking a cigarette, not saying anything. And I'm like, Mark, I'm fucking like nervous. Let's get the fuck out of here. Like, this is weird. I don't feel right about it. Like, it's some, pressing anxiety about this situation. Let's just get the fuck out of here. So I get Mark in the car and we go, and he's like, Layton, you're such a wuss. Like, there's nothing there. Like, you're being so fucking stupid. And as we're like pulling away, they're up to the fence. Like, they're there. I can like see them, and like they're just like this milky, like, but barely any color, no facial features at all. You can kind of make out a head, you make out the shoulders, and then the rest of them is like hidden underneath the grass. But they're like up against the fence. And like we pull out, and I'm like panicking, like, hyperventilating. And so we're driving. Mark's like chastising the shit out of me. I mean, rightfully so. From his perspective, if I'm like just freaking out over nothing, then yeah, in his eyes, I'm just being like a total wuss. Fine, fair. But as we're driving on the road, Blair finally hasn't said a word this whole time. Finally goes, I saw him too. Yeah. So I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Like, okay, you saw them. What the fuck were they? And he's like, Layton, like my eyesight's not as good as yours. I don't know. Like, I can't really tell, but they were definitely like, it was definitely something out there for sure. Like, I could see them moving towards the fence. And they definitely started out near the train and they ended up at the fence. Like, I could definitely tell that.
Fuck, man.
Yeah. And it reminded, so as I've gotten older and my wife is really into like Mothman shit.
Hell yeah.
Anytime someone like we were listening to a story, she's telling me a story she's heard, or we're listening to like astonishing legends or something. When they describe like how something like wants to hide itself from you, but wants to, like, what it's allowing is allowing you to project what it wants, some form of what it wants, ambiguous idea of what it wants you to see. It's like kind of filtering what you're allowed to see of it. That's what it was like. It was like, I can tell that I couldn't really see what it, like, it almost was like it didn't want me to see what it actually was.
You couldn't see it. Yeah.
Or it was like projecting what, like, the closest approximation of what I could best understand of what it was. It was like allowing me to see that.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I've experienced something similar where it's like, what I'm seeing is what my mind is allowing, my mind is capable of seeing.
So, and again, the skeptic in me, same with the gray man story, like, or the gray people story. Like, I am like totally open to the idea that it was just like me and like even maybe like crowd, because I was with Blair, like we kind of crowdsourced this like idea. I was like I said, I was senior in high school, maybe a junior, senior. I was probably like 16 or 17. I mean, I was old enough to like.
You're not making up stories though, like
those. So that's what I was going to ultimately get. It
even a very at the long time, story, it's not like.
Those are the two things that have ever happened to me. There's nothing. I got nothing else that's remotely close to that.
And I want you to really think about this and be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, I know you said you're open to that idea.
Yeah, that it was just like it's just fabricated in my mind, or like I got scared of something and my mind started to like projecting or making shit up. Like, I'm totally open. That could have been. Could have been it.
I'm kind of going the other way with this.
Oh,
I know you said you're open to that idea.
Yeah.
But at this point in your life, looking back on that, what do you think about that? Is that what your conclusion is?
I am totally agnostic on it.
You don't know, but if you had to guess.
With that one, I don't know. I could have been that like they were just like people fucking with us somehow.
And the only correct answer is you don't know. But I'm asking you if you had to say one thing is, I mean, likelihood's not even the correct because the likelihood is that it's a collective hallucination is the most likely explanation. But I think makes the most sense?
I think in both cases, the rest of my experience in life would make me kind of go in the opposite direction of what you want me to go in right now.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's fair.
I think it was probably, and I can't explain it. Like, I'm not doing a good job of it, but or would do a good job of it. But I think it's probably something that is explainable, and I just don't know it. And so, like, I just got freaked out in both cases.
Well, no matter what happened, it is something that's explainable, even if we don't understand it, right?
Well, okay, right. No, that's fair. It's fair. what I mean to say is that it is explainable within the comprehensive understanding of humankind, just not my own personal understanding at
Okay.
this point in time.
There is a
Yeah,
logical,
there is a
understood
logical,
explanation
there
for
is a
this.
tangible,
Okay.
real thing that happened in
Yeah,
both
yeah, yeah.
cases. And I think the second, the one that's like the crazier story, the gray people story, I think that was more of just like a wild
Wait, are we
fucking
talking about
dream.
the same thing? Because I'm talking about when,
The drum set thing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that, dude, I swear
yeah.
to God, I think about that all the time.
I think both stories could be like something like that. Now, again, I don't
I'm going to
know.
disagree with
Yeah.
you. With the drum set one, no, it couldn't.
Well,
Like, what was that?
so this is what I would say about that. I
I
would say
guess we
that,
should probably give Alice some context in case she missed that episode.
well, just yeah, I will.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But
I'm
no, no, no,
sorry.
you're totally cool. You're totally cool. I think that so it's not very common, but I definitely have sleptwalk, and I have like lucid dreamed in my sleep, and I think it could have been something like that. Now I don't know how I did that and then woke up back in my bed in the middle of like sleep paralysis. That's never happened to me
I think you're fucking
before.
lying to yourself.
Maybe I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to be like I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here.
I'm sorry.
Funny
I'm
choice.
telling you what happened with your
Well, no, it's
situations.
a funny choice of words, devil's advocate. But I'm trying to be like the rational like Scully to your Molar here, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it could be that.
And
Now I don't know that
I
that's
also
true.
want to say I love that about you. I love how practical and like that's what makes me when you tell me something. Some people tell me some crazy shit. I'm like,
Mm,
okay, whatever. You
yeah,
tell me some crazy shit, and I'm like, I'm listening. That's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, that's, you've gotten the two best I got.
Yeah.
Those two are it. Um, yeah. So rule, I'll give Alice the abridged version of this story because the longer form is on
Yeah, if you
an
want
earlier
the like
episode.
full version, the first episode with Debra. Debra's been as a band has been on twice. Go if you're scrolling back down and you see Debra, it's not that one. Go further until you see Debra again. That one's when you gave the full story.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, we were that was when we were all on. We were all like trying to get in, words and
yeah.
edgewise. But this one was sophomore in college Charleston.
Okay,
And
so
we
this
were,
is after the one you just told me.
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's weird though. I never thought about this. You're making me think about it right now. But they were actually proximity wise, like year wise in my life, it's actually pretty close in year because like it was like a probably a senior in high school to a sophomore in college. So it's like 3 years. Within 3 years, this happened to me. So that's
In
interesting.
the same place?
No, no, Spartanburg is upstate South Carolina. Charleston is the coast.
Okay.
It's like probably 120 miles away, a little more maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 200 miles away. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so with this story, I was living at this, which is part of the crazy part about the story is that it's living on Wentworth Street, which is one of the oldest streets in Charleston, one of the oldest streets in the United States, as a matter of fact, because Charleston is one of the earliest colonies, earliest cities in the colonies of the United States. The house that I was in, the foundation of the house, it was super fucking old too. Like I want to say late 1600s. So like old fucking house. The room I was in, I mean, you're talking about old, plantation home in Charleston. So like the ceilings were 23 feet high, 25 feet high, or enormous. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, way more than anything that you or I are accustomed to here now.
Yeah.
And there's only one window in the room. It was super high up. It was like a little, probably a little rectangular window about this, about 3 feet or 4 feet by, a foot up high. I don't really know what the purpose of the window is. I know that that room used to be the kitchen. So of the house, like back in the day, this is what I was told anyway, unverified. But I was just waking up. It was twilight, like, I guess the morning twilight. Sun was just coming up, rays were just coming in through that little tiny fucking window. And I'm like kind of, stirring a little bit. I sit up, smacking my chops, rubbing my face, and I look over and the way my room was set up, imagine it's like a giant, rectangle. My little twin bed is over in the corner. My drum set is like right beside my bed, and then I have like a tall lamp. It's like in the opposite corner of my bed, right? And then the door is over there on the facing corner, and then the bathroom's over here to the right. So I kind of sit up in bed and I look over to where the lamp is, that corner. So my drum sets are here, lamps over here. And like, so the light is coming through the window over here. So I can barely see the lamp, but it looks like there's a coat on it at first. And I'm like, I don't put coats on the lamp. Like, what's, and I kind of like, morning brain is not really functioning well. I'm like, is there someone in here? It's like Zach was in my room. Is Zach in here? Like, fuck with me. And I kind of looking out of the corner of my eye. And then like, I totally turned to like, look at it, to like actually like really commit my like body posture to like, I'm looking at this thing. And it makes, so it's, imagine like, here's the lamp and it's like, I'm looking this way. And so it's like behind the lamp. As soon as like I make the body posture, like I'm committed to looking at it, it goes like this. And I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck. And it's like doesn't make a sound. That's like another creepy part. Like no sound at all. It's like and then like it weirdly, like a fucking cat, like slips from behind the lamp, jumps on top of my drum set, and I hear when it lands on the drum set, it's like the cymbal stands and stuff splayed, and I can hear like the cymbals crash on the ground, and like the hi hat stand, my crash stand, my right stand, they all like my toms are all fucking displayed everywhere, and like I hear it's like a someone dropping a drum set basically in a room. Like I hear that sound, and like I'm like, oh fuck, and I'm seeing like on the drum set, and it leaps off of like I think my throne or my like floor tom using my kick drum, like leaps off, and in midair as it's like coming at me, I'm like, when I roll over and lay down, and I feel it land on the bed, and it's like so I'm like this, like I was like this, and now I'm like this on my bed, and I just feel its face like right here. It's almost like it's vibrating, but I don't really hear it. It's like a weird thing. It's like just like my heart's just like racing, and the whole time it's just like it looked like just like a gray humanoid figure. I couldn't really make out any facial features or anything, but it is like on my fucking like face, basically, just like right there. And like close my eyes and like breathing really hard and fast. I'm like, I'm about to die. I'm about to fucking die. I'm about to die. And like I turn my head, it's not there. I sit up in my room. At this point, like more and more lights coming in the room, and I can kind of see more. And like I look, and it's not in there. And like I kind of stand up and walk around, and like it's not there. But my drum set's all fucked up. So like that definitely happened. And I don't know if I told you this part of it, but I had a friend who stayed in that room a different time, and not that intense, but something. He had a sleep paralysis thing happen, but he said that a gray like thing was holding him down. You know,
How long were you like flipped over, like hyperventilating, just like
it
still?
seemed like minutes, but it was probably like 15 seconds. You know,
That's
so
a really common one is sleep paralysis. And it sounds like I know you kind of like wipe, just kind of like wiping sleep off. And then like you were able to kind of like position yourself and then like when it rushed you, like reposition yourself. But you were still in bed, like you're still,
yeah, yeah,
it sounds like what's different about that from a lot of sleep paralysis stories I've heard is the physical evidence of that's what like really freaks me out about that story.
yeah,
But I've heard a lot of that's a really common one is people being in bed in that hazy, either like woke up but not all the way, or like just woke up
yeah.
place and seeing some shit and like seeing something like yeah, I think, and also the panic of like something's about to get me,
Yeah.
is reminds me of a dream, like a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same effect that happens when you have a nightmare is
Which
you're
is,
running and it's
oh yeah.
but I don't think that that's a where I'm getting to with that is I don't think that's a write-off about the experience. I think we need to look at dreams more closely and be honest with ourselves as a society and say like we really don't know what's going on with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Dreams are fascinating. It's funny. I say I don't have. I personally do only have those two stories. That's it. That's all that I remember. That's all I know. I would love to get my wife here to tell you a story that she experienced with me while I was asleep one time.
Anytime, dude.
Yeah, it's I don't. She tells it way better than me. But long and short of it. Sorry, Alice. Like one more digression. She said that one night she woke up. We used to have this like black lamp, like it was a converted oil lamp, old lantern. Someone converted into this like cool little like lamp, hipster cool little lamp thing, right?
Yeah.
The cool little like
Yeah.
bulb, and it's like it's a cool little thing. She said she woke up one night. I have never done this before or since, so keep that in mind as well. She woke up one night because imagine there's like a glass bulb and there's like a glass little container around like the filament, and then like a fucking lantern, right? And then there's like a little shade. She said she woke up because I was flicking the glass, and like ding, ding,
Out of
ding.
bed.
I was dead asleep, flicking the glass. And she said that she knows the whole like thing, or remembers more of it than I do. She said it was like I was reciting a poem. And she's like, I just remember the first line. She goes, "By the light of the darkest lantern, we will lead them into the light." Yeah. So like something, yeah. And she said that my voice was way higher than she's ever heard me talk before. Like a different voice. Yeah. And so she's like freaking out. She's like panicking.
Yeah.
And then I stop,
Yeah.
go right back to sleep. She said it was like it's like a whole like a recital.
Like in
a
response to you saying something, like in response to her saying something.
No. Like she woke up because I was flipping.
Like as soon as she realizes what's happening and you recite that, you stop.
Well, no, she said it was like it's like a long like I'm. That wasn't it. There was like a lot of lines.
That there's okay. All right.
She doesn't remember all of them. She remembers more than I do. I just remember the first one because it was like that's a fucking wild.
And she's
line.
not reacting. She's just kind of like
she's like Layton's about to like kill me. Yeah, yeah. And so then that's not the end of it. That's not the end of it. So then she falls back. She finally falls asleep at like this. So this happens at like I think it's like 3 a.m. or maybe it's midnight. I don't know. It's like it's very late, and I fall back asleep. She eventually falls back asleep. She says she's awake, heart pounding for like an hour. I've been silent for a while, so she goes back to sleep.
Understandable.
She wakes up again because I'm flicking the thing again, and she says I recite the same thing, and then go back like this word for word, very long like poem that I have no idea what it is. I've never heard it before. I've never heard By the Light of the Dark.
It doesn't mean anything to you.
That means nothing to me. So then it is never. So that happens. It has never happened before since. She's like, she's kind of into the cryptid thing. I wouldn't say she's woo, but she's like into shit.
This is definitely a safe space for the woo woo.
But I'm just saying what I mean by that. Not that there's anything wrong. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just saying that she is not like generally. She's never like been into that before. Is what I mean to say.
Okay.
She is into this. Have you ever heard of the Night Watchman? The old Night Watchman?
No. Is this a cryptid?
Kind of, sort of, not really. It's like she thinks that's what it is. She's like certain that's what it is, and it's not really a benign or a malevolent spirit. It's like a more of like an indifferent. It's like again. I don't know that this is what happened. I think what happened is I watched a movie and
Yeah, but you don't know what movie.
I think it was
just you rationalizing.
I think so. It was right after. I know this for a fact. So it was. I remember this. We were talking about this. It was after we watched 13th Warrior, which is about. It's really like a retelling of Beowulf.
Okay.
So, like, have you ever seen it?
Yeah. Well, I've seen Beowulf and I've read Beowulf, so I'm familiar with that. So it's a telling. Okay.
It's a reimagining of Beowulf, basically.
Okay.
But it's real dark and scary and spooky. And I kind of think that's what happened. Right. But she's
you say so, dude.
She is certain that it's like this spirit that like will take over people. Like the old night watchman is like this he at some point was an old like a night watchman who watched over like a town or something, and the like or maybe it's multiple different like spirits that like reincarnate people who are called to do that. And so now that there's like I, I don't know the whole, she could do it way better, she like can explain this way better, but it's like the idea of that is not just a single person. It can like kind of take over people here and there to like do whatever it's trying to do, or like it's maybe it's just echoes from its like mission, which is just trying to protect people, or just trying to look out for certain people, you know. So that's what she thinks it is, just based on like what it, because this is kind of spooky. So if you look up on Reddit what by the light of the darkest lantern means, it brings up the old night watchman. There's like a bunch of people who've said shit like that in their sleep. So like that is kind of weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to agree with her more than you then about that. That's a phenomenal. Well, that's really interesting that it's a. I really like my friend Jesse Stillwagon does this podcast called Midgard Musings. It's all about like Norse mythology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he has this term that's like really useful. Unverified personal gnosis. That's when something strange happens, but that exists in this vacuum of like you're the only one that can experience that. Examples of what not would of examples of things that are not that would be all three stories you've told me, where someone else saw the two entities that you saw. The drum kit being knocked over, and then this thing where you didn't even consciously experience it.
No.
Your wife did. Is like none of those are unverified personal gnosis. Those are all like phenomena that happened.
Yeah.
In like,
well, she says it happened. I don't remember it.
Yeah, so it's her unverified personal gnosis
that I I committed. You know, like I don't remember it at all. So like I don't know.
I think you did.
But
I think you did it.
But I mean, maybe I did. But I definitely like I begged her to tell me what like more of the recitation because I want to use it. I think by the light, I think by the light of the darkest lantern, we will lead them into the light is a fucking
that's bars
heavy thing to say.
Bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like when we read Blood Meridian, like that inspired. That's I showed you the song that I wrote, The Crooked Wheel, that's inspired by that. Right? Yeah. That. So when I wrote those lyrics, Hayden was like, I remember. So I have this book. Have you seen my book that like I write lyrics in?
No.
So it's kind of fucking crazy. It's like it looks like an old book, like a leather bound book. And then Penny, my dog, got a hold of it and kind of chewed it up a little bit. So it looks fucking wild. It looks like her chewing on it a little bit is added to like that aesthetic of being like. So like I was like reading out of like I was reading the lyrics and like explaining what the lyrics were to our engineer when we were recording, and I remember Hayden just like kind of looking at me and he was just like, oh, and I was like, I remember like trying to hand him the book and he was like, get the Necronomicon away from me. He's like, I am not fucking touching that thing. You know, it's just like, he's like that. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, like, because those lyrics are like pretty fucking heavy. Like, I'll send them to you so you can read them. But it's like,
I'm not good at deciphering lyrics. Like when I hear a song, like unless it's just like super legible. So yes, I would appreciate.
I'll text you the lyrics. I'll text you the lyrics, and I want you to read them because like you will immediately see like the Cormac McCarthy influence on the song because it's like I mean that scene.
I can see the Cormac McCarthy influence on the song without the lyrics.
Oh
yeah. Even with the lyrics, for sure. Yeah, send me that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like that one scene. We talked about this scene quite a bit when we did our book club review, but the first Apache attack, or it's Comanche attack rather, the first time they get attacked out on the plains of the desert, like how fucking intense that passage was. That is like a huge part of the Crooked Wheel. Like, you'll see.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's I'm still tripping on, like, you have the craziest fucking stories.
That's just those three. That's literally it. That's like this, the two that I experienced. And that just it's funny we're talking about this. I was like, oh, I gotta tell him this thing
Well,
that
yeah,
yeah, Lisa told. She tells this to like all of our friends, my parents and stuff. And she's just like, yeah, Layton's dreams are fucking insane. Like he's fucking crazy. Y'all don't even know. But I
man.
don't I don't know.
I
I
want to
didn't
go.
experience it, so I don't know.
I want to go back to the thing at the train tracks you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm gonna tell you a story after we get off of here because I'm realizing now I don't think I've ever told you this, but what you were when you were describing, you weren't quite seeing things for what they were. You saw things almost as if it was trying to hide its appearance from you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like that. I was thinking that could be the situation.
I think what's going on with stuff like that is we have the wrong approach to these questions of whether something is or isn't. It's both. Imagine, just as like conceptually, just imagine the idea that something exists. Okay, I'm gonna give you a better example. The band Acacia Strain, metal band. Okay, there's this heavy band called Acacia Strain, and they have an album. This is some dark shit. They have this album called Our Only Sin Was Giving Them Names.
Okay.
And each track on the album is like, this track is called Our Only Sin Was Giving. It's all one word.
Okay.
And what the album's about is like, okay, so imagine not in the physical world, but somewhere else, there just is something, another world beyond ours.
Mm-hmm.
But you can establish connection through concepts. So what this would do
It's
is
like
like
Platonic idea of forms. I feel like
Platonic idea of forms.
you
Go
know I'm familiar.
no, break that down for me.
You finish what you're saying. I don't.
Okay, we'll come back.
I'm
Let's table. I'm really interested in this. We'll table that and come back to it.
I'm derailing your train of thought. So
I do want to come back to that though.
yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you a story later because Alice has heard this one probably multiple times on the podcast. But informed by personal experiences, and also it just kind of makes sense to me. I think what's going on is um, imagine it's a funny way to say this. Imagine that imagination exists somewhere else. So like it's not is and isn't. It's like because when we talk about what is, what we're talking about is physically what is. Concept isn't, right? But that doesn't mean that that doesn't occupy a space.
It depends because you yourself are made up of electrons and atoms. So like your concepts. Okay, I'm being again. This is devil's
Maybe,
advocate.
maybe,
It's devil's advocate shit here. Like you
maybe,
yourself are
maybe
made up.
not.
Well, I agree. I agree. But the like the empiricist would say that you yourself are composed of atoms, protons, electrons. Those thoughts are,
It's random
positrons moving.
firing of synapses.
Yeah, but it's all physical. So therefore, your
Okay.
thoughts are tangible.
So where I'm going with that is I think that's true. And I
Mhm.
think also there's things that exist outside of physical reality. So I
You're
think
talking about mind body dualism. Yeah, like what a rationalist would say. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a valid point too. I mean, finish what you're
okay.
saying. Finish what you're saying.
But I think when we have an idea, I'm not saying that you didn't come up with that. I'm not attributing that just to channeling something, but I think it's a handshake. I think it's a connection that you're establishing. So if you have an idea of something. Imagine this is there's like potential and actualization. And the physical reality is what's actualized. It's what is. But then there's an infinite void of just potential that occupies its own space that is specifically not this. So it doesn't actually occupy any space. This is kind of hard to explain. Are you following me though?
Yeah.
And then like
I think I am. Yeah.
and then like okay, so your interaction with a spirit or a concept with an idea is a collaborative effort. It's you are establishing a connection by having a concept of something. So back to the taboo, forbidden stuff that you shouldn't look into, like the Lesser Key of Solomon and stuff like that. These are ideas, but what's dangerous is to give substance to ideas, to entertain that. I mean, this can be explained in like a psychological sense too. Yeah, don't entertain bad ideas because that becomes reality. Like you open a portal into reality by entertaining bad thoughts. It's like this is how like school shooters go from being just a troubled kid to like the scientific explanation is like they entertained bad thoughts and brought those thoughts into reality. I think it's semantics. It's the same thing to say they manifested demons and became possessed by the spirit of anger, of wrath. They embodied something that isn't them. They related to something and called that thing themselves. Where it's like
you're basically saying corrupted by a thought versus an
yeah,
actual like cosmic entity.
being possessed by a spirit is semantics for saying you got angry and that led to action.
And that's kind of what I'm saying too. Like it could
Yeah.
be like again going back to like the William James thing. It's like I need to verify if that's his actual name. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's either Henry James or William James. But anyway, his whole thing about religion, just in general, is like it makes no difference whether or not it's like substantive beyond your consciousness. If it's real for you, then it's real.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good kind of analogy for what you're saying. Like, and I agree with that as well. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, if I read the Lesser Key Solomon and I like my mind gets latched on the idea that like dark magic is real and alchemy is real. I mean, alchemy is a different thing because that's like there's more tangible like uh, claims there, like turning lead to gold, which can't be like manifested. But like for you yourself, like if I get like warped by the idea that like I'm now a demon and like I want to like
then you are
consume virgin blood, there is no real difference between whether or not that is actually happening or whether it's just all personally or internal. That's
the consequence is the same.
Yeah,
right?
outcome is the same.
Yeah. And then at that point, then it all becomes semantics. But I actually think because it is despite what like not I'm not saying you specifically, but like despite what someone might think about me based on the kind of rhetoric I espouse, I I do believe in like hard science and things like
I know you do. I know you do.
I like to think I'm a pretty rational person, despite all of the woo-woo shit I've been saying.
Well, it's fun. It's fun to like talk about this stuff. I mean, like it's fun to go down the because again, I not again. I just
and
cut you
where I'm going with that is something I've been really focused on lately is objective reality.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about kind of like personal truths, where it's like, well, if it's true to you,
yeah.
I kind of think like I'm kind of making some hard claims right now, also, which is like that. I think that, but also I think what is happening is that a handshake, like a collaborative effort between something that does exist, just not in a physical way, is collaborating with what is in your mind.
No,
That,
I understand there's a
yeah,
distinction
and
between what we're saying.
that is kind of the hard claim I'm making.
Yeah.
And I can't prove that because it's unprovable.
No, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
kind of by definition, you can't prove that.
I know what you're saying. You're
As long as,
just
okay, we're on the same
yeah,
page.
yeah, yeah. You're kind of like giving me your like idea or theory of like what's taking place with this kind of like weirder stuff that's a phenomenon that's been going on.
And
I totally get it.
I
Totally
would never like yeah. And although I would say I have let's say I have faith that that's the case. I'm not really trying to persuade anyone that that's the case. That's just what I think
I have
about
not
it.
felt that way.
Okay.
I've not felt like
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
been trying to like persuade me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's totally fine. Like, I mean, I can't disprove that. I mean, it is every bit as valid of an idea as any other, religious claim or, some non-religious claims,
Yeah. So yeah, I think just to kind of sum up that, you know what Alan Moore is?
Mhm.
I fucking love Alan Moore. I'm a big fan.
You're talking about the comic book guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrote Watchmen, Killing Joke.
Yeah, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's my favorite.
Yes, yeah.
Favorite of his. Yeah.
He's I'm a really big fan of his,
Oh, yeah.
and he's also a woo-woo guy.
Yeah.
And he had one of my favorite quotes is from Alan Moore. He said, the language about magic is more about language than it is about magic.
That's deep.
And it's because like as soon as we start talking about magic, what the fuck are we talking about? Because it's like that's what's so awesome about Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung is they alchemized magic and religion into science and created the backbone of psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Like that wasn't a thing before Freud and then later Jung,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this is just a different way of talking about concepts that have existed. And it's like now it's science because we talk about it this way. And honestly, it's probably a deeper understanding than what the people before were saying. But it's all words. Are you familiar with the Tower of Babel,
Mhm.
the Bible story?
This when different languages were
Yeah.
created because
the Nimrod's trying to get to heaven by building this tower, and all the people underneath him, God divides their languages, and the tower collapses. Right? Even in English, and this is kind of a topical example, and I'm not really making like one side or the other statements right now, but like gender is like half of the country says it's biology, half of the country says it's how you feel, or more of a nuanced explanation than just how you feel, but like different definitions of the same word. So even in the same language, we speak different languages. So these two sides can like by definition cannot ever agree with each other because they don't define things the same way.
It's like
so there will never be agreement or understanding between these two groups because it's impossible. They speak different languages, contrary languages. So my point is like words fuck up all of our conversations. Like we're using like a hammer to like thread a needle.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, like, I think that I forget who said it, but there's a saying that like, most arguments. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember the exact quote either, or who said it, but most arguments are not genuine arguments, meaning that most arguments are a disagreement of terms, right? So
semantics,
like if you when you're actually like arguing about something, it would be prudent to, before you even begin, agree on terms or at least find an understanding of terms.
Yes.
So like I mean, gender is such a fucking hot topic, and I really don't like have a real position on it. I mean, I think that anybody, I don't, what I don't understand, I'll say this, is when people are outright angry about someone who, like, let's say
Yeah,
is
fuck
got the
that.
genitalia of a man but wants to identify as a woman,
No, and you
like
should
that.
never like misgender people because this like you're an asshole if you do. Like I
Yeah,
have gender dysphoria. Like I do have like feelings and leanings on this subject,
yeah,
but I'm also like a pragmatist and can say, okay, guys, this is the problem y'all are having is y'all are speaking different language, like
yeah,
contrarian languages from each
yeah.
other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I feel like anyone who gets angry about that kind of stuff, on, like, let's just say it, on the right, that's just like, yeah, it's just completely out of touch. You don't know what, like, there's no reason, has no effect on your life. So, like, let whoever, like, do whatever they want to do. Like, who cares? That
Absolutely.
literally has no effect. So, like, that's ultimately, that is like the classical liberal coming out. It's like,
Treat people with dignity and
yeah,
respect
and
with yeah.
like, do what you want to do with your life. Be happy, and be happy that people are happy. Who cares? But I do think that there's like the whole, like, gender and sex thing is like, I see, going back to what you're saying, like, the terms is like, it's so confusing. Like, it's not really confusing, but it's confusing when people, like, switch and move the goalposts. Like, I think what people are saying is, like, they don't like the idea of gender roles anymore, which I'm okay with. If you don't want to stick to traditional gender roles, I don't fucking care. Like,
As
that's
an
fine.
American, I think people
Yeah,
should be able to do whatever the fuck they want, right?
100%,
And I
110%.
yeah, whatever you do is none of my goddamn business because this is America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that, and I don't think this is a hot take. I don't think you're going to disagree with this or anything, but I do think that, like, what everyone's saying is that it's gender expression is what's important, not really gender identity.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
because gender identity is a deeply personal thing, and I understand and respect that. And I'm not even saying, like, of course I understand and respect you, and
Yeah.
I want to make you feel
I see
comfortable
what
in
you're
every way
saying
I
though.
can.
I didn't really think
But
about it that way, but you're right.
I think that,
That's what's really being like the major point of the conversation. Yeah.
yeah, is like, and back to what you're saying about you shouldn't misgender people. I agree with that. I would add a little addendum to say you should definitely not do it on purpose. If it's accidental, yeah,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
okay. And just like, if it were me personally, and, like, I misgendered someone, I'd be like, okay, well, tell me your pronouns, tell me
Like
how you want me to
I don't really
refer.
ask people for their pronouns. I kind of make assumptions, but then if I'm corrected, I'm going to
Respect
it's
it.
like you're
Yeah,
saying,
it's just polite.
doing something on
It's
accident's
just
different from being
exactly,
malicious,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. It's like,
No, we're on the same page.
it's
Yeah.
just polite discourse. Like,
Sure.
I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. So, like, just tell me how you'd like to be
And this
identified,
is
and I will.
something I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but this is something I've dealt with my whole life.
I don't think we have, no.
I'm bigender. I that's kind of also kind of a weird thing with even within like the LGBTQ community. Because I'm not non-binary. For me, I see it as binary,
Hmm.
like on off male female, and then that's we were talking about objective truth. This
Hmm.
is a personal truth. I'm not making that claim about gender. I'm saying that's how my cognition works about it, right?
Yeah.
But I see it as one or the other. Uh, and so I kind of like fluid is like, I think more like it's specifically not binary. It's a scale, like a sliding scale. I don't really see it that way, but that doesn't mean that I'm right and other people are wrong. That's like my personal identity, you
Yeah.
know? Um, which is like I am big on objective truth, but I'm not making an objective claim about that.
Yeah. I mean, nor should you, nor should
Yeah, should
anybody.
anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, not only because, like, it would be hard to, like, make that argument, but also, like, it's just so fucking heated nowadays about it. I actually do think it's cooled off a little bit. A couple of years ago, it was
I think
much
it's
more
most
heated, but
yeah.
it's
We're
still
we
like, I wouldn't want to touch. I wouldn't want to touch down or make any hard claims about it
yeah,
either.
and yeah, and I'm not. It's just
I'm not saying you
yeah.
are. I'm not saying you are, but yes, finish those.
No, but no, like I am very like I'm personally affected by this subject.
Yeah,
So it is something that like I am very like sympathetic about. But I think
I didn't know that. I really didn't know that.
um it's something that we need to like any issues we have in society. It's something where you need to understand, and I'm saying this about both sides. You need to understand the other person's argument because, like you're talking about, a lot of things are not real arguments.
Yeah,
It's
they're not. Yeah,
you're just choosing to disagree over words or not realizing that that's what you're disagreeing about is words, like not gender but language.
yeah. I mean, you could make the claim that I'm not saying that you should or anybody should, but you can make the claim that like sex, just sex, not gender, just sex, like biological sex, is in aggregate a binary. There is some like there is continuum there for
And I
sure.
will say that is a definition
Right.
of gender.
It's just pure. I'm
And
talking
that,
about just purely
right?
biology. I'm not talking about anything else.
But that is a, and that's what the other side needs to understand is that is a definition
Right.
of gender. Just because there is another definition of gender doesn't make this one untrue. Because again, we're talking about words. We're talking about language. This is a language argument.
Right.
This
Exactly.
isn't a,
Yeah.
this is purely a linguistic thing. This isn't a, it has nothing to do with anything else except the
Yeah.
words we're using,
But
right?
I mean, to that point, though, that's why there is a distinction now between sex and gender, and people are like,
Yeah.
and maybe rightfully so.
I think that's
But
probably the correct way to do it. Yeah.
right,
Like here's biological sex and here's gender, right?
mm.
I think that's
And
probably
that's
the easiest way to comprehend it, in
right,
my
and
opinion.
that's kind of what I was saying earlier about like how I'm rolling our previous conversation into this, where it's like people have like really taken flight with this idea of like gender expression and gender identity, and that's kind of what I meant. It's like I think what's more important here for interaction is the gender expression part of that, not the gender identity part.
Mm.
Not to downplay its importance just in general. I mean, like just when I'm talking about importance within
Usually when
like
it's coming up
interaction,
in conversation,
right?
that's
Or
what we're
like
actually talking about.
literally
Yeah.
just like me, who like I'm a straight cis male person, just kind of white bread. I am what you see what you see is what you get. If I'm interacting with someone from like your community or like even a different community that doesn't identify my way, I need to be careful, and everyone needs to be careful, not just like white bread folks, but just like anyone needs to be careful about how they interact with folks. So I think like the gender expression part is why I'm kind of like bringing it up again. It's like how people express themselves needs to be considered when you're interacting with them. That's why I think it's important. Like
Yeah.
pay attention to those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, there's like we were talking about like intentionally um like misrepresenting how people want to be perceived like as like a dick move, just being offensive to someone,
Mm-hmm.
like, and then like unintentionally like honest mistake kind of stuff,
Sure. Yeah.
like big difference there. And then there's also like you just patient, like be patient with people, like don't use a real problem to bludgeon people that are just on it making honest mistakes. And I do see like I think that's probably like
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
elephant in the room we should probably talk about is like that. I do see that in the community too, where it's like this is a way to weaponize something, and
Yeah.
that's not really fair.
Yeah.
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 Or like I'll give you another example of discrimination. It's like because um I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this on the podcast, but I actually used to take hormone therapy because I
Really.
thought I was trans.
Okay.
And I understand my gender a little better now than I did at the time. But because I experience reality the way I do, I'm expected to have certain opinions that I don't. And that's fucked up and bigoted. Is like, no, because of my gender and because I experience things a certain way, I don't have to vote a specific way.
Mm.
I don't have to agree with you on
Oh,
certain topics.
you mean like internal
Yeah,
pressure from your community?
if you're trans, you have to be liberal.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, that's extremely transphobic. You think all trans people think a certain way?
Mm. Yeah.
And that's a problem within that community is like, no, like not everyone has to fucking agree with you.
Yeah.
That's like saying like all black people have to be liberal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, they fucking don't. And I know a lot that aren't.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're the bigot. You know what I mean? And it's like that's something that
putting people in a box is always dangerous.
Yes. And that's something that like the community needs to address as well. Is like not everyone has to fucking agree with you. Like this is not ideologically whole in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that like the temperature on this subject has like lightened up a little bit. It's not quite as,
for sure
caustic.
For example, cancel culture is gone.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously happening to Diddy, and rightfully so.
No, see, that's called dude committed a crime. That is like their statute of limitations. Like dude was convicted of a crime.
It's the court of public opinion and the penal code. The literal
court. Yeah. We were talking about opinions and having safe spaces for opinions. That's something that's like we all have to agree, but everything else can be like variety. But that's the opposite of freedom of speech.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you a free speech absolutist?
I would say I'm an absolutist.
I'm as well.
I would say I'm like, and that's where, see, most people are like, yeah, I'm free speech until they get to the absolutist side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on the same.
That means that we have to let the Nazis do their thing, do the protests and shit. I don't agree with it at all, but like
that's specifically why
they have to be able to speak.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So knowing that, actually, why is that so important, Layton? Why is it so important for there to be space for that?
Because it's a slippery slope if you decide to impede it.
Yeah, worse things happen if you don't allow those people to talk, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And also, you don't know it's a bad idea unless you've heard it. This is why, like, I really don't like academic debate. Like debate on like in like a formalized way. Like the academia debate is stupid because it's like, okay, I'm gonna hold this opinion and you hold this opinion and we're gonna fight. It's like, no, that's a competition. We should be collaborating on the truth. I'm not trying to get you to convert to my religion.
Mm-hmm.
My only goal in any conversation ever is for you to understand me and for me to understand you. And if we don't come out of that as the same opinion, that's okay.
Do you think there's such a thing as a harmful idea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Do you think it's we need to risk that to allow like absolute freedom?
My point is, you don't know if it's a harmful idea or not unless you've heard it.
No, I agree. But like, let's say we can all agree that we are familiar with, just going back to this, and I don't mean to give Nazism or a platform here, but just like I would say that most Americans, most people, most educated Americans, I'm not even talking about like educated in the sense of like people who've like read, books and things, are probably familiar with, I'm not talking about higher education, like people who can read and do all that.
Like general history.
General history, yeah. General idea of like the history of America and the history of the world for that matter. Probably familiar with the idea, the main core tenets of Nazism, right?
Yeah.
So we all are familiar with that. But yet we both have agreed that we should still have the right to have those beliefs and even protest and even like talk about them in the United States, right? Yes. We're in agreement on that.
Yes.
But we can probably agree that we've heard those ideas. We don't need to hear them again. And we probably can agree that they're both harmful. we
Yes,
both can agree that those ideas are harmful.
and it might cause issues having those ideas in the public. The problem is it's going to cause greater issues if you don't allow space for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I tend to agree with that. Like in principle, I do think that I don't know what the government's role should be in policing, ideas.
So that's
And
what we're coming down to
right,
here
of course. Yeah,
is
that's what I'm
the
that's
government regulating speech.
right.
And
That's
where we're getting at here.
Yeah, that's what I was
like, for example, like doing a podcast, I'm a free speech absolutist. There's some conversations I'm just not interested in having on here. Like I'll give it not even getting into like the Nazism stuff. I have accidentally talked to flat earthers on this show like 2 or 3 times where
well, there's some pretty convincing evidence.
are you fucking
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I'm like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
Yeah,
no, like because I've been down that rabbit hole with people. Like not, and I'm not saying I would have been like, no, fuck you. I'm not having you on because you think the earth is flat. I'm saying I didn't know. And then halfway through this happened to me multiple times. Halfway through the interview, I'm like, oh, you're saying, I didn't even bring it up. It's like, oh, you're saying the earth is flat. And then like try to, like, example I'll give you is I had this person on, this Canadian fellow, was telling, he was like, it's kind of like globalist not globalist, like globe theory propaganda, and then like tried to gloss over. I'm like, wait, whoa, full stop. What the fuck did you just say? Like, no, you're not gonna slip that in. We're talking about that now.
Globe theory. I haven't heard that.
Like, you're not going to just slip that by me. Globe theory. We are talking about this now. And then the rest of the podcast became us talking about whether or not the earth is flat. And I'm like, we're here now, and I'm not happy about it. But now that we're here, we're not moving on from this. We are talking about this, because I need to address. First of all, I don't want to look like I'm agreeing with this person saying the Earth is flat, which is kind of what he did. He tried to like slip that in. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But also, that's how you refute bad ideas. Is you challenge them. And if you can't do that, well, then maybe you have the bad idea, right? It's like maybe you are confused.
Well, I mean, look, the burden of proof needs to rely on someone who claims who has a bad idea or puts forward a bad idea, flat Earth being a bad idea. And unfortunately for those folks, the multitude of evidence points in the opposite direction of their claim. It just did you wait? Speaking of this, did you see? It was like a couple weeks ago. A group of it was like because they're like some pretty famous flat earthers. They're like a pretty big community, I guess. I watched a documentary about it on Netflix when they came out with it, but like it's like a pretty big community. It's not like a couple thousand
probably
people.
Bigger than I want to think.
Yeah, it's on the order of like some of these videos get like millions of views and shit, and they have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Like it's a big community. Anyway, I mean, it's not like there are other obviously way bigger communities, but it's not nothing. Anyway, so one of the more famous figures in this community and a group of others, I think it was like on the order of magnitude of maybe like 30 or 40 of these like flat earthers, and then a couple high profile ones went to Antarctica to be present for a 24-hour day cycle, right? Because in your worldview, in the flat Earth worldview, in the flat Earth worldview, that is impossible. Yeah, it's only possible in winter in Antarctica.
If something crazy like we lived on a sphere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's this whole thing where they did it, and was a very ardent proponent for flat Earth for years, and it was like went to Antarctica and saw it, and was like, yeah, I'm wrong. Admitting he was wrong, and then like all his fans, yeah, it is. But all of his fans are like,
Fuck you, you
yeah,
shill.
yeah. Well, everyone's like, they bought him. They they bought him off. Or like there's even some wilder theories like they killed him and cloned him and shit.
Oh, well,
Like,
if you think
yeah,
the earth is flat, you'll
yeah.
believe anything.
There's some wild,
Like, there's anything's possible at that point, right?
yeah. They really think they got to him, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just funny. This made me think of it because
Well,
we're
part
going
of the
flat
problem,
earth.
and then we will get off of flat earth because it makes my blood boil because I've had to do this multiple times.
Yeah.
But I will say, part of the problem is how people refute it. Because something I've heard many times is, well, have you ever been in an airplane? You ever seen the curve of the earth? It's like you see it from an airplane. It's like, no, dipshit. You can see it if you look at the fucking moon. You don't have to get on a goddamn airplane.
Yeah.
There's a shadow. There's a spherical shadow. There's a circular shadow on the moon. What's that?
Yeah.
What's that if not the earth blocking the sun?
I mean,
right?
The tides.
It should be, yes.
The
yes.
tides,
you don't
forces,
have to go anywhere. It's like, just look up.
Yeah, you can't explain tidal forces without the Earth being a sphere and the moon literally. So you have a sphere and you have the moon, and like what's happening is that the moon has a gravitational pull on the water of the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's like literally bulging off the surface of the Earth, and as the Earth is rotating, the water is like that pull in the water isn't changing. So like the Earth moving is like changing its tidal forces. It's tides.
Yeah.
That's how the tides change. You know,
it's like this. Here's an object that is, and this thing's moving.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So like when basically when it's high tide, let's say it's high tide on this side of the Earth, it's because the moon is over here pulling that water this way.
Yeah.
When it's low tide on this side of the Earth, it's because the moon is over here pulling that water this way.
Yep.
It's pretty basic stuff.
I don't know. It sounds like propaganda to me. It sounds like
no, not globalist. We say global. The global propaganda,
like globe theory,
propaganda. That's
yeah.
Fuck. That is. I never.
They got him.
Heard
they
that.
got Layton.
They got me. They got.
How much are they paying you?
Son of a bitch. They're paying me $15 a week.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
$15.
Yeah, but yes, to answer your question before we got on flat Earth, I am a free speech absolutist.
It's tough. It is. It is not. So like I say that knowing that it like that is kind of like a hot take, and people, you know, I have friends that I hang out with pretty regularly who like disagree with me vehemently about it.
Same.
I know that it comes with some baggage, but like I have to say, like I think that even despite the risks, I think that it's important. I think it's important that we have that right. We have the ability.
The problem with an alternative right is who decides what we can and can't talk about. Because I'm a grown ass man. You're not going to tell me no one on this planet is qualified to tell me what the fuck I can and can't talk about. And it's always the people that are against it that think they're the one that's qualified to tell people what they can and can't talk about. It's like, no, who the fuck are you?
Or just to punt it to the court of public opinion. So like if we all agree that we can no longer say like tic tacs, I'm just choosing a random like phrase. If we no longer use the term tic tacs, well then fuck, we can't use tic tacs anymore.
Or what? Someone shows up and puts you in handcuffs.
Well, then, that leads to a whole other question of like, are there actionable?
What the fuck are you gonna do about it? Are there
actionable offenses? Or like, because even I would say even like a fine or something is an actionable like
that's violent.
Yeah,
that's violence.
Yeah, so it's like it's a slippery slope.
Out of someone's.
It's a real slippery slope, man. I know that like when from our side of it, when it's like super far left folks, would say like you're being dramatic, or you're being like. When you say it's a slippery slope, like no one's gonna take you to prison for like saying the word tic-tac,
okay, what are you gonna do?
But like it's like
what if that's not the case, then what the fuck are you actually talking about then?
It's
well, I just don't think it's a good thing to do. It's like I agree with you. It's not good to say these things. It's bad to say Nazi propaganda or tell people the earth is flat. That's bad. But the alternative is you're telling people what they can and can't do, which is worse. Like no one especially not the fucking government, is in a position to tell people that.
Yeah, and like there's the whole like, oh god, because like we're getting into the weeds here because it's like it is complex, it's super complex. It's like with
Yeah.
the government because like I do believe, it's weird because like the one side of me is like a real like omerta anarchist. Like there really is no moral way to impose a legal structure or superstructure on society. So therefore, it should just revert back to the state of nature, right?
Oh, like anarcho prim,
Right, like yeah, like so, like they're two
like
trains of
Ted
thought.
Kaczynski.
Well, yeah, I was more thinking Thomas Hobbes, but yeah,
Yeah.
Rousseau would have you think that human nature is such that we would leave each other to our own devices and live in harmony. Thomas Hobbes would say, absolutely not. Like Leviathan is such that you will consume your neighbor,
Hmm.
consume your neighbor's resources, and it's basically humans are self-interested inherently, and they don't empathy stops at
Well,
self-interest.
both of those things are true. People would kill each
Well,
other and be awful to each other, and also some people would live in harmony. Some people would leave each
perhaps,
other the fuck alone, and then
perhaps,
some
but
people would be awful to each other. Both of those things are true. The
perhaps
duality of man, right?
duality of man, exactly. But
Yeah.
so what I was getting at by bringing all that up is that when you are talking about like okay, so example, we both agree that murder shouldn't be legal, right? That
Mm-hmm.
should be an actionable
That
offense,
yes,
right?
this is why I'm not an anarchist.
Right,
There
yeah,
does need to be a system of governance.
right. So I think then we can make the distinction that like yeah, anything like verbal speech, even like the hate crime thing is weird because like it's inciting violence is what is considered a hate crime, right? And that's like a speech related thing. Or not, sorry, hate crime. Sorry, what's it? Hate speech.
What's the difference
Hate
between
speech. Hate crime is a different thing. Sorry, hate speech is what I meant to say.
okay, all right, all
Hate
right,
speech is compelling someone to violence through your words, right?
okay.
I think. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think that's
I
what
don't
it
actually
is.
know, but go ahead.
It's well, okay. So that's like blending the line of like free speech. Is there such a thing as hate speech?
I
And
don't know what the
legally,
difference between like bad speech and hateful speech would be.
well, so hate speech is an actual
It's like
term.
bigoted, right? It's
Well,
like directed at a group.
yeah, it's an actual term, and it's like inciting violence is the term that goes with it. So if you're using language that incites violence, right? Like again, not to give them more platform, but like the modern day Nazis who would like stir up, let's say, a local town if that town had a higher population of Jewish folks than, let's say, another town, and they were like, we gotta, do something about this. That could be considered hate speech if like something were to actually happen. They could be legally pursued because whomever was leading that charge was using derogatory speech that could be tied to certain violent crimes,
I'm
right?
not sure where I stand on that, but all I'm going to say is it sounds like a really vague, and I think you're right that that is what it is,
I'm
but
also
it's
being,
very vaguely defined, and that's
I
not you.
mean, it's a very
That's
poor
not you doing a
example.
bad
Yeah,
job of
well,
explaining it.
I
That's
probably
that.
am, but
Well, maybe that too, but also it's just really loosely defined,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. And we might as well just look it up right now. But
Yeah.
I think that's just my understanding what the definition of hate speech is. But let's look at a hate speech definition. Hate speech definition right there. Okay, abusive or threatening speech or writing that expresses prejudice on the basis of ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or similar grounds. We don't tolerate any form. Blah, 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 blah. So this doesn't say incitement to violence. I thought that was in specifically in
This
the
is
definition.
bigoted speech.
Yeah, discourse targeting. They must have taken that out like since the last time that I've looked at this. So yeah, it's just speech that's targeted at a specific group for any specific group. I guess it could be
It becomes again like who decides what is and isn't that?
well, okay, so yeah, so that's kind of that's the
Where's
root.
the oversight on this?
That's the root of the conversation. It's like, so, we can agree that like murder is not okay, right? Because that affects other people.
Yeah,
right?
in a very tangible, real way.
Stealing, okay,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
less
violence.
that's a less hard crime, but it is also still a crime. Violence,
That's
yeah,
violent
definitely,
crime.
yeah, because it's violence to your finances. Like it
Yeah,
directly affects
you're
people.
taking, well, that's what the government does when they fine
Yeah.
people, is
Or
you're
tax people.
yes. You are attacking people and their children. You're taking food out of your people's children's mouths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like obviously
that's violent.
child predatory laws should probably the
Yes.
most important thing in
That's the most
society.
heinous
The
crime you
most
can
heinous
commit.
crime you can commit. Most important that we protect our children, all that kind of shit.
Children should be a protected class.
Yeah. So then it's like, where does language fall? We are agreeing on these things. You and I are agreeing on them. I bet most anybody in the United States, right, left, center, anywhere, would agree on at least those things, right? Stealing, murder, aggravated assault, protect children, those types of things. Most normal people. I'm sure there are fucking weirdos that wouldn't agree with that, but that's different conversation. So then we
more than we'd like to admit.
Yeah, we've agreed on that. So then it's like, okay, where does speech and hate speech specifically, does that fall under any of those categories in some way? Obviously, maybe not stealing. I mean, that's gonna be kind of a weird concept. But like
the question is
violence.
it violence?
Yeah, is speech, can speech be considered violence? Is the root sum of what we're talking about?
Well, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself that words have never caused me. Well, I guess I can't say that. Actually,
Words have caused you like direct.
words have caused me pain. Yeah. But also that's because I'm associating it's caused pain to my identity. But that's because I've chosen to identify with I'll give you an example is like when you looked that up just now, there was the racial and the gender stuff, which is not something you can help. What I don't agree with there is the religious aspect. Discriminating against religion is like, okay, I know this is controversial, but I don't respect just because you have a religious idea doesn't mean I respect that. And if you choose to identify with that, that's your fucking problem. That we're talking about ideas. All people are created equal. Not all ideas are created equal.
Oh, for sure.
And
yes.
I have, without getting too specific about it, there's a lot of religious ideas that I have huge fucking problems with, and I'm sick of pretending like that it's okay. We have to tolerate religion. It's like, no, we fucking don't. Some cultures are better than others. Some people in the world practice awful things, and let's not pretend that's okay just because, well, it's a different culture. We can't judge them being from Western society. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Yes, well, we can. I'm doing that.
That also, just like what we're talking about with the free speech thing, is a slippery slope. If you say all cultures need to be protected, not you, but like what you're saying,
yeah,
your adversaries would say in this conversation. Well, then why isn't the Westboro Baptist Church? They're totally fine, then, right? Which is like, they're fucking preposterous idiots. I'm not saying they should be, but I mean, yeah, I mean they're.
They believe something that's stupid,
right? So, but I'm just saying, like for
yes,
it is a slippery slope either way, is what I'm saying. Like you either say, okay, you either accept all or you don't. Like that's kind of what I think what we're talking about. And I'm not saying that it's free speech is lumped in with the religious thing.
Oh, you can. I'm saying there's believe whatever you want. You can have whatever ideas you want. I can also say it's stupid.
Yes.
I don't have to respect it.
Right.
I can speak ill about it.
Yeah.
I can draw the Prophet Muhammad if I want. I don't care if that's fucking a problem for your religion. I can draw whatever the fuck I want. That's who the fuck are you to tell me I can't? And the only thing that can stop someone from doing that is violence, right?
Yes.
But like, yeah. Religion should not be grouped in with race and gender. Like, fuck that. Also, saying what I'm saying right now is considered racist, which is not okay. I should be able to criticize, for example, Judaism without that being a race conversation. Can we talk about how there is a cult
Well,
of Israel?
that is so it's that is I don't feel
And
one way or the other,
we don't have to talk
but
about that.
I am just saying
But
there's like a whole argument in and of itself on whether Judaism
ethno religion,
is an
they're
ethno
tied
religion or
together.
just well, yeah, I don't.
I'm telling you, I refuse to see it that way. It is because I know plenty of people of Jewish descent, whatever the fuck that means, that don't practice this religion. I am am choosing to make that separation between racial identity, which I don't even know if I believe in. Like we have the human race. We're also mixed together and bred together. We all have a little bit of everything. So race is also like I don't even know what that fucking means anymore. But also like what you believe about how the universe was created should not be a protected class. And I don't care if you decide it's linked to your race. Also, that's kind of racist. Like, like religion's linked to race. It's like, okay, well, you're a bigot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I'm not religious, so like you're not going to offend me at all. And I also like have no position on whether or not Judaism is an ethno religion or just a religion. I don't care. I have no position on that. It doesn't affect me one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting that like I do think that I think it's interesting that people are arguing about that now. You know, like
yeah.
I don't like.
Well, humoring this conversation makes you a Nazi, which we already talked about how bad you and I, people who have disavowed Nazis multiple times in this podcast, will now get called not. You're a Nazi just for sitting next to me while I say that it's not an ethno religion. It's religion and race should be separate.
That makes you a bigot. That makes you a bigot for saying that. I thought it was the opposite. I thought this is this is my naivety to like the temperature of this argument. But like I thought that it was the people that considered Judaism an ethno religion were the ones who were considered bigots.
Oh no, that's biblical canon.
No, no,
Israelites are
right. No,
God's chosen people.
I know that's the consensus that the Israelites were a specific group of people coming out of, you know, around the Fertile Crescent, all that kind of shit. But I didn't know. I thought that the contemporary understanding was that if you consider Judaism, you know, a group of people more than a group of people and a religion, like simultaneously, that is like the bigoted.
Oh,
that's the bigoted belief. I don't know that I might be wrong. That was my understanding.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I see what you're saying. I think that is true. That is a bigoted belief, but that's also what you believe if you practice Judaism. So who's being bigoted? You know, we should stop. We should stop here.
I also have no stake in this argument, or not that it's an argument. But
it's been a wild conversation we've had over the last 2 hours. Check out 1784 for the last two tracks out on the 28th, and then
so Bantam Love and Waymore's Blues.
Fuck yeah. Awesome cover, awesome original. I'm very much looking forward to your show at the basement on the 30th. It's gonna be great. And we should do this again soon.
Love to.
We went 2 hours and like we could have gone for 4 or 5. So.
I'm down. Having a good conversation. Just for the record, fuck Nazis.
Fuck Nazis.
For the record, fuck them.
And fuck you if you think we're Nazis for being open-minded.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a good night. See ya.
Cheers, Alice.
Cheers.